Tracy for that. It's really good to be back at the pond and be back with the band. And the dancers earlier did a really wonderful job. Really loved the music. That was really cool. And in case anybody was curious, I have never cut down a tree, and I don't know how to play the acoustic guitar. Just to get that out of the way. Anyways, growing up, I always thought I had a really uncommon last name because I never really met anybody else with the last name Gomez, except the people I was related to. For all I knew, the only other Gomez was in the Addams family. But then I grew up and I realized I basically have the Mexican equivalent of the name Smith. And never was this more evident than a time I was doing door-to-door sales with my coworker. We got arrested for mistaken identity. And I was in the back of the car, handcuffed, and they put in my full name, Joseph Robert Gomez, and this huge list came up. It was like murder, rape, assault, murder, fraud, assault. And my coworker nervously looked at me, and I was like, don't worry, I never committed fraud before. My family really values diversity. My mom went from being married to a Mexican guy to married to a Jewish guy. So we went from Feliz Navidad to dreidel. So we're currently in the midst of Lent, and I always dread Lent because Lent is like a New Year's resolution, except there's more pressure because you're not just laying yourself down, you're laying Jesus down. So it's like for every little sip you take, a little bite you take, Jesus is somewhere shaking his head like, I died on the cross for you, and you can't even give up your Diet Coke and your peanut butter Snickers for a month. And Lent leads into Easter, of course, and Easter is by far the weirdest holiday because we can decide what day Jesus was born, but we can't decide what day he made his comeback. We celebrate this by painting eggs and eating chocolate bunnies. And by the way, if you give your kids little cheap, hollow chocolate bunnies, you are a terrible, terrible parent. And if you don't think so, try eating one. They are the worst. But I digress. I just don't remember the part of the Bible where the giant bunny saw a zombie Jesus and declared, we shall forever celebrate this by gorging our children with marshmallow chickens and beans made of jelly. It shall be grand.
Down the front.
I recently decided to weigh myself. I don't really know why. I was just taking a piss at my friend's house. So I was like, there's a scale, fuck it, Let's see how fat I am. And then I got in there, I looked down, I was like, oh man, 220 pounds. This was disconcerting because I weighed 140 pounds all throughout high school. And I was thinking to myself, the formula for your weight when you're 29 can't possibly be your weight when you're 19 and your weight when you're 10 combined. It's like some people gain a few pounds, I gain an entire midget. So, I tried the Subway diet, like Jared, but, it got old really quick. Can somebody please explain to me how Italian herbs and cheese and honey oat can taste the exact same? There's a major problem when my cold cut trio tastes exactly like my meatball marinara. Growing up can be really scary, and I feel bad when kids go into puberty because, they tell you you're going to start growing hair in all these areas and stuff. And so when, the armpit and the ball hair came, I was like, okay, they told me about this. But when I got my first foot hair, I was really scared. Nobody told me you grow foot hair. I didn't know if I was growing up to be a man or a hobbit.
Still debatable.
Yeah, I know, right? I'm the world's tallest hobbit. Anyways, I noticed in my many years of IDing people for cigarettes that the only people who ever have their IDs ready are people who never ask for their IDs. Like this 80-year-old man would come up and he'd be like, here you go, Shirley. And I'm like, I can see you just turned 18, sir. And then, they have these housewives, these middle-aged guys practically begging me to ID them. And then the kid in the Little League jersey scoffs when I ask him for his ID. I'm like, dude, general rule of thumb, if you still have baby teeth, I will ID you. If you're wearing a YOLO t-shirt, I will ID you. If you got on the back of a minivan and you're wearing a backpack, I will probably ID you. And I started working at a call center. It's really interesting because we get people from all over the country and everything. And you can't understand a lot of these people, so we use the phonetic alphabet, you know, to help spell things out to get the information right. Our customers do this sometimes too, but I think people make up their own phonetic alphabet. Even when I don't ask them for the name, they'll be like, yeah, my last name is Jones. That's J like Jones. O like oh my god. And like chicken McNuggets. E like Easter Bunny. And an S like Psycho. I'm like, okay, Mr. Joseph, how can I further assist you? So I think it's really ironic that they call smart cars, because it's really, because you look like a dumbass when you get out of them. What do you say?
Franklin cops have smart cars.
Oh, they do? Well, fuck Franklin cops. Hey, for real, right? I really love staying at hotels. The best part about staying at hotels is all the travel size stuff. Because I love using these because it made me feel like a giant. I'm like, I could fit an entire bottle of shampoo in my hands. It's amazing. So I'm really indecisive. Some people like to flip a coin to make decisions. I like to roll a 20-sided dice. That way I got more options, you know? So I think people take modern transportation for granted, you know? We get all pissed off when we have to go to the store for 10 minutes to get something. But back in the day, they used to have to travel like an entire week to get stuff, just to go to the store. Can you imagine if you did that and you like forgot your wallet? You're like, oh yeah, sorry, I'll be back in about a week and a half. Just set it aside over here. I think it's really awkward when you see people's babies and you ask how old they are, and they tell you in months instead of years, way past when the time it's appropriate to do so. They're like, hey, how old's your baby? Like 36 months? Oh, you mean she's 3? So I decided when I'm turning 30 soon, I'm going to start telling people I'm turning 360 months. So being homosexual, it's a uniquely human thing. In the animal kingdom, there is no such thing as being gay. I have never once saw a dog lick another dog's balls, and that dog be like, hey man, that shit's gay. They're more like, hey man, you missed the spot. They don't even care if it's the same species. They're like, dog, cat, leg, fuck it. They're gonna hump it. No, I think we can learn a lot as humans from that. You know, when people are famous as a comedian, it's like way different than when you're famous, like for being in a rock band. You know, people get tattoos of band logos and lyrics. I have never once seen somebody that has you might be a redneck tattoo. And if anybody does, you know, I apologize for that. So I recently went to a doctor and he asked me like, hello Mr. Gomez, how are your bowel movements? I was like, well, that's an interesting question, Doc, because I'll say it's kind of like a horror movie, like every time I take a dump. Like I sit down, and like it's all anticipation, you know, I'm just all serene and everything, you know, and peaceful. And I'm like, okay. And then I like hear a little bit of noise, and I'm like looking around, I'm like, that might be there. And then out of nowhere it comes to like full-on massacre, and I was like, whoa. And I'm like, and, you know, just when I think it's done and I'm looking for survivors and everything, then he comes back to life, you know. And the worst thing about it is I always know there's going to be a sequel later on. So I watch a lot of ESPN, and ESPN, every time there's a big event, they like to do these like feel-good stories, really kind of feel-good stories, because they're like, oh, he came from like extreme poverty and his mom just raised him and stuff, and everybody always told him he would be awful and nothing when he grew up. But you know, that gets boring after a while. You can only hear that so many times. I want to see the story where like, he had 2 great supportive parents. He went to school. Everybody thought he would be a marvelous athlete. And he succeeded. Yeah, it's just better than whatever. Obviously, that was not thought up very well. Alright. So I recently found out there's a woman in New York who charges $1 a minute to cuddle. And literally the only thing I could think of when I was thinking about this, I'm like, what happens when the inevitable boner pops up? I mean, do you have to pay insurance for this? You have to pay like an extra $5 up front just in case it happens? But she just roll with it. She was like... Alright, so I recently decided that I'm against Chick-fil-A. It's not because the anti-gay thing, they can do whatever, but I found out they make a chicken and egg sandwich. And this just seems wrong on so many levels. I mean, even McDonald's knows where to draw the line. So if you're ever at a friend's house and you notice they like to keep their cereal in the refrigerator, it's not because they like their cereal cold, it's because they have roaches. Do not use their spoons.
Exactly right.
So I was recently at the worst show of my life last week. And yeah, she was like the only person there, that's why there was like 6 people there, and the guy who was promoting the show, he came up to me and he literally said these words. He was like, hey man, I'm an artist too, I'm a concept artist, you know what that means? I was like, what, do you do conceptual art? He's like, no man, I come up with ideas and other people do it. And I was like, looking at him like, so you're talentless. And if anybody ever tells you they're an underground promoter, that just means nobody knows who they are, and they're a very shitty promoter. But I did find out that day, it was Valentine's Day, I found out that true love isn't like getting chocolates and flowers. It's your girlfriend just finding out 2 days in advance about her show and coming and being like the only person in the crowd and not being pissed off for you. And she was here today, so I just tell that story. And anyways, that's all I have today. Everybody did a great job, and I'm really excited for Padam. See you guys, and have a good night.
That was sweet.
Great job, Joe. Let's keep it going for Joe Gomez, everybody. All right, the names coming right up. Those 3 guys, I'm not one of them, are coming up soon.